And right now, House Democrat blasting some Tea Party lawmakers who he says shut down the government. Democratic Representative Steve Cohen making this comment while talking about the shutdown battle.
We take an oath to support the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and these are the domestic enemies.
Dana Loesch, host of The Dana Show, joins us. Nice to see you, Dana. What do you think? Domestic enemies. We have name calling.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Greta. It's just unfortunate. I think that I can agree with Representative Cohen that we perhaps have a different means to get about to the same ends, but the name calling and the incendiary rhetoric that they always say that the Tea Party participates in, they're the only people I see engaging in it. We've been called anarchists, terrorists, murderers. I mean, what else now?
Do you know of, and I'll ask you, the viewers to write in if they know, do you have any instances in which Tea Party members in Congress have said anything, have equally insulting back? Do you remember?
Not to memory. If there has been, I would be kind of surprised at some of them, especially since, you know, they've been calling out folks on the left for calling, you know, well, I have heard, it doesn't count as Tea Party, Greta, but John McCain called us hobbits, but that's not really the same thing.
You know what I think is distressing is that, you know, everyone who goes to Congress says he or she wants to lead, and yet nobody seems to sort of rise above it. I mean, there's so many so willing to sink into the food fight, and it's so non-productive. If your kids did that, you know, you'd haul them off to the, you know, bedroom or pull them out of the schoolyard or something. If your kids were that lame, like they do it. I wonder if they even notice it.
Well, I think that the goal with politics should be, especially from a lot of these newly elected members, should be to try to find common ground and build upon the common ground. I mean, there are people with whom I disagree 99.9% of the time, but that 0.1%, I mean, there's some common ground. We can work on that. We can build on that, and that should ultimately be the focus and the goal. I mean, we're talking about winning hearts and minds, but it's kind of hard to do that when we have this stuff going back and forth.
Is it dispiriting to the Tea House movement that there is so much vitriol towards, at least towards the leaders of the Tea Party on Capitol Hill?
I know a lot of them, and I think some of them look at it as though it's feathers in their cap, so to speak. I mean, it's, you know, if they're getting mad at you and you're taking flack, I guess that means you're right over the target. So some of them, I think, look at it and they're like, yeah, we're having some effect. We're at least making them mad. But, you know, and that's great because it fires up the base and you get, you know, you get people involved and they pay attention. But at the same time, we need to go back to that common ground and work on building that.
Well, I guess that's the problem, because most Tea Party, I assume, would typically vote Republican, except now it's sort of seen splintered within the Republican Party, which is actually very effective for the Democrats to have the Republicans become two parties.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing about the Tea Party is that back in 2010, when all of this was building, there were a lot of former Democrats or people that were Democrat, registered Democrat, decided to call themselves independents and said, you know what, we really believe it's all about limited government. I mean, Tea Party isn't really a Republican thing. I've long thought that it's the unattached conscience of, it should be, of both parties. I mean, anybody who wants limited government and fiscal responsibility, that's where they should be, is in the grassroots movement.
Dana, always nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Greta.